the only way to start your day.
Country and a lot of good things we see today coming from Burkina Faso. The proverb that we get from Burkina Faso is the horse cared by two grooms dies of hunger.
The horse cared
for by two grooms dies of hunger. How would you interpret it?
The horse cared for by two grooms dies of hunger. I see ourselves in that scenario. In the opposition. We will die
Of hunger.
We do not know who is supposed to feed us. Or either side will be thinking that you are well, but eventually you perish. Yeah, it is. When you have a task and the task has no, it's like giving some work to a group of people without anybody being responsible. That work will not be done. And I see ourselves almost in that scenario as a country.
Okay.
And I think that's why we are looking for a boogeyman.
Did you find the boogeyman?
Magic.
Amepotea. Amepotea. Yeah, that's true. If you don't identify who is responsible for what, whatever it is that you wanted done will not be done.
Will not be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The year started on an interesting note, and some things that you said. You said that Raila's spirit and his legacy will never be erased, and you say that the attacks on Uhuru Kenyatta are a cover for Kenya's economic pains. That's one of the things that you most recently said, because over the weekend it would appear as though Uhuru Kenyatta was attacked, and he's still the Jubilee Party leader.
He is the Jubilee Party leader,
Yes.
and he will remain a party leader for
a while.
For a while.
You say the attacks on
Perhaps
him,
for the
whereby
comfort or discomfort,
of others.
depending on where you are.
And his name has come up recently where he's been, I don't know if the word to use is accused, or he's been connected with funding a major part of a campaign in 2022. And you've said that it's not really about anybody doling out money, but that there's an economic problem in Kenya that needed to be sorted out. And you say that that's what the attacks are a cover for, and that his name shouldn't actually be brought up.
Actually, he should not be dragged in any of the difficulties that we're having. The problems that those manning the regime now are having is his track record. And what they should be working on is their track record. Instead of attacking him because of what he did, his track record, they should be working on their own track records. I remember, I think Mheshimiwa Ruto was saying sometimes in December that when the day comes, we will put our track records on the table. And there could not have been a better statement coming from him than that. And what I again want to encourage him is to work on his track record and leave Uhuru's name out of it. And of course, this time loud, you can see his name being dragged through some other individuals who chose to work with him in a broad-based government. But you see, I see your headline here again is betrayed in death. And quite a bit of oranges. There are 3 slices of oranges.
Slices, yes.
And I think the thing is that the spirit of Raila is haunting those who betrayed him, and is haunting them until they are spilling the beans and letting us know some of the things perhaps we did not know, or speaking out loudly of the things we knew. But he also reminded me, yesterday I was thinking about the whole thing, and I remembered one of the kitendawili. Alikuwa anasema kitendawili, umeenda kuogelea kwa mto, mwenda wazimu amekuja amebeba nguo zako, umetoka kwa mto na unaanza kufukuza mwenda wazimu. Yeye ndiye amebeba nguo zako, wewe uko uchi. Dunia watasema nani mwenda wazimu? Ni wewe mwenye uko hauna nguo. That's exactly where we are. Now we are being made to chase a madman. and we are the one looking like we are mad. This whole thing is just a decoy. A terrible decoy, but one that has failed flat.
For what gain?
For the gain that we are not able to say, for example, like this morning, I wake up and the first call I receive is from a parent of a child with a disability. And this child has very good marks, but has been placed in a special school because of disability. So they have completely forgotten all the gains we had in our 2010 constitution, where it was never a question of your disability, but the issue of merit. And they have taken us back to things we were doing in the 70s and 60s. But because of these things we are being treated to here by Akina Junet and others, we are not able to address that kind of an issue. The life of that child will be lost on that account alone. We are here today and we are not able to say where I was helping another young man, the parents is there, but babake ni bangi tu, na kijana ni wembe. The boy did very well, but he's been placed in a school some 200 kilometers away, which is okay, but it's a day school.
So it's not okay.
So it cannot be okay, because how are we going to be able to take care of that child on a day school that far? So those are the issues that are happening and hurting Kenyans today. But we are now being treated to things that are not quite useful. Parents woke up to pay 9,000 shillings. There was capitation some short while ago. Today is not there. But we cannot do anything else other than dealing with the decoy.
Yeah.
And they are looking at the person who they thought who could best help them with the decoy is Uhuru, the former president of this republic, our party leader. And I think we need to refocus, and especially those of us in the opposition. We have to quickly refocus and make sure that the people's issues are back to the table.
Yeah, because if you look at it, SG, even if we choose to discuss what former President Uhuru Kenyatta said is, work for the people, deliver for the people.
Yes,
this is not time for politics, it's time to deliver. So is it a question of that those who are now attacking former President Uhuru Kenyatta, it's because they have been checked on what their responsibilities are, and that now we're looking for a boogeyman that we can blame for our own failures?
A boogeyman whom we can blame for the failures of this regime, number one, but also looking at that person who seems to who seems to put, or whose Kenyans seem to say, "Aki ya Mungu hata kama ulienda, usituachilie." Because that's what I see when he appears in Rairas, when he appears in Jirongos. It's like what Kenyans are saying, ulienda, lakini tuko kwa shida, usituachilie. The fear of him is what is driving them to now drag him into things that are not useful. Of course, I want to say here as I start that he has a responsibility. Not that we are giving him here, but Kenyans themselves are telling him, you led us, we saw how you did it, you may not have been perfect, but we seem to have had some direction. Baba has gone. And this spirit of Baba, let me tell you, will determine the outcome of who becomes a leader in the areas that he was strong in and who does not. I don't want to go away from what you have asked me, but yesterday's happening reminded me of a similar thing that happened at Kirereshwa when I was having our Jubilee office at Dik. It got to a point where I picked the phone and called the former head of state, Uhuru. Told him, where we are today, if you do not show up in person, it is the head of this party, and this country will never be the same again. I do not know why I say the country will never be the same again. Now I understand why those words came to my lips. If Mama Aida had not intervened yesterday, and I have not talked to anybody, but this is my experience. If she had not intervened yesterday and stopped the shenanigans within ODM, this country would be very different today.
Why? Why?
It was going to be the real beginning of the end of ODM. Kicking out Sifuna from ODM is splitting that party into pieces. And you do not need anybody to take you through that class.
Now,
Sifuna has managed, and he did it when Baba was alive, and he's continued with the same, to capture the imagination of a sizable followers of ODM. Those who agreed with Baba when he went and joined the broad-based government, and those who disagreed with him. And Baba was careful, even during his last days, to make sure that he never lost the party and lost his followers. It was a very delicate dance, and he did it well. Sifuna now is the voice of that other side that never went to broad-based. And I don't want to get into that issue, because I remember there was one time that we were seated, and this was at what we call the command center. And I'll say very true about it. But that is where the former head of the former prime minister came. There was a meeting in Mombasa, and came, and the person who was trying to brief us of the outcome of that meeting was Junet and Macau. I was seated there, mother was seated there, and what we were told, our response to it, I can see it here. If they want us to give the details later, you will see the kind of betrayal and where it started and how it has been worked out, and who have been even leading Baba the wrong way, if there was a long way. But now he is the right. But his spirit is speaking to them now.
SG, I agree with you. We have far more critical issues that we should be focusing on. Education, health, and management of our country, basically. But of late, we've been treated to the theatrics of political parties.
Yes.
I agree, ODM is a player in the political parties, but it is really not a national issue per se. We could allow ODM to go and sort themselves out, and then they can come back to the people and persuade the people on policies towards 2027. That is one. Two, we find ourselves in 2026, which in my opinion, I think is a year for us to consolidate.
It's a defining year.
Yes. So that we can approach now 2027 with much more sanity. And the question I'm struggling to get an answer to is the strength of our political parties and political party structures. Because one, ODM is disintegrating because their structures are not holding. Jubilee has had its own turbulence. And you see also members of Jubilee, like somebody was asking me over the Christmas holidays, why is it that Jubilee has not recalled the members, especially the nominated members, who are sitting in parliament and in breach, in a manner of speaking, of the Jubilee party principles?
Yes.
I would like to hear your opinion about that. But far beyond that is that how do we begin to consolidate our political parties to organize? Because a government must be formed in 2027 according to our constitution. Can we walk away from the theatrics of political parties, focus on the key issues, and start having an issue-based conversation? Then we can mobilize around those ideologies.
I want to step back and say it is also not possible for us not to discuss the happenings within political parties. Because those issues I've talked about, and we can talk about many more issues, including the health issues. Look at what your headline was yesterday.
Yes.
I'm sure you have not forgotten. League system. You cannot fail to also talk about the parties. Because these parties are the ones that are going to play a key role next year. And it is the outcome of that game that will actually determine whether we address the issues that we are raising now, or we continue down the same, going south as a country. So, while it is a sad thing, we still must talk about the healthiness or how healthy are we as political parties. And today, and perhaps unlike when I was here last time, I come a little different, because we as a party, I can say we are out of the ICU, we are out of HDU, we are now out of the wards. We are able to move around and sell our party As it is, we have our party Jubilee out of the courts. We have a new constitution. We have our presidential candidate. We are now moving to the people. That those we have had our NDC, our next, all those things are functioning. Do we have the time? We have to work harder because the time is not as it's not, the manner the way we would have wanted it. We have to work much harder. But this also it reminds me that one of the things Raila used to say is, in Azimio, we are as strong as the individual political parties. Touching Jubilee is weakening Azimio. And it is for that reason I also cannot fail to talk about ODM and actually start with Sifuna, because dismantling ODM dismantled the opposition. And I know we have the group we are calling the United Opposition, which unfortunately, and I hope those who are the luminaries in it don't fail to see this, KK has now managed to blood them as tribalists. And they have succeeded. And this hit me very hard yesterday. Mnataka kukaa na sisi ama mnataka kwenda kwa hao wa kabila? So, and now it will be the team of Karonzo and others to try and explain to Kenyans that they are not tribalist. And I always say, when you are explaining it too much in politics, you've lost it.
You've lost it, yeah.
So we have lost that united platform. They must redefine themselves very quickly by either calling themselves another name or something else. But we are here, and during our NDC, our party leader said, we are still in Azimio. And there must be a structured way of dealing with either continued being in Azimio or exit of it. The issue before us must also be addressed by Azimio. We, even in Azimio, were betrayed by Junet.
How?
Aye, many ways. And I don't want to talk about, but I'll mention it.
Oh, come on, SJ, you can't say something like that and then just
I
leave
will
it
say
hanging.
it. He betrayed us in this way. One is that even when we were doing the Azimio demonstrations, he was never part of it. Never part of it. Number two, when we were fighting for the position of majority in parliament, he was never part of it. When we finally delivered the judgment, which was given to us, and I was the only person going to that court. When we finally delivered the judgment of us being declared the majority, he worked with Wetangula to defeat that judgment. Today he sits in as the minority and he is speaking on behalf of the majority. Can you imagine that level of betrayal? I mean, you may not know it, but as a person practicing politics outside parliament, your voice is that person who is on the floor. And instead of him carrying your voice on a daily basis, he carries the voice of your opponent on a daily basis. There can never be any other worse level of political betrayal than that.
Correct.
And it is terrible. So he has betrayed us on the floor of the House. When we were doing parliamentary committees, one of the major problems, complaints about from members of Parliament of Jubilee is that slots that were meant for them were not given to them but given to other parties. He was the one responsible. After decisions have been arrived at outside of Parliament by Raila, Karonzo, and I used to sit there, it was him to go and implement in Parliament. And many of those slots that were meant for the members of Jubilee, he never allowed them to occupy.
Were these issues raised with Baba?
Yes.
Or during the...
We raised all these issues.
Okay.
But he had his own way because he was also trusted. You know, in politics, you also trust. The level of trust of Baba on Junet was amazing. And I can go to another area that now, another disaster that we have not been able to address. He is the Secretary General of Azimio. Never have we ever had a meeting of Azimio. If you go to the county assemblies where Azimio has a control, outside perhaps Nyanza and the rest, where Jubilee has a control of the assemblies, we were never able to give guidance to that assembly as to how do they conduct themselves when the governor is a UDA.
Why?
We never functioned as a unit. And it was not in the interest of the person who was supposed to make it happen, because he had already compromised himself in parliament. So those assemblies are also compromised as a reflection of the betrayal of this one man.
Do you know what you're saying, Jeremiah, essentially?
A lot.
Is that even today, the governance that represents the people then is compromised and it's not delivering because from the very beginning, it was poised to fail.
Yeah.
And so these things that Joe brings up about education and health and infrastructure and development across board will never see the light of day, because from the very beginning, the people to whom Kenyans delivered or lent their sovereignty or lent this position to lead and guide were compromised. This is a very serious thing.
And it is that serious, and that's why I'm saying it is, even the people themselves must also be willing to get out of the mess they're in. All these games are now being played so that Kenyans can again produce the same kind of leadership. If they do not see it from that platform, we will be back to where we are. And unfortunately, why I'm saying unfortunately is because this hii ugonjwa imetufikia mpaka opposition. We really cannot, I don't understand, how have we allowed a platform that was created to give hope to Kenyans? How did we allow that platform to be now labeled tribalists? A tag we can't run. Yeah. And every day we are speaking, we are affirming that position.
Yeah. So could it be that it's not being branded, it's just being pronounced on their conduct?
Yes, and because every day, and I hope today they don't do the same. They did that yesterday. They did it over the weekend. I hope today they don't do it. They are saying things that confirm or affirm what KK is doing. So we are giving them an easier way of campaigning, because once you've been blooded tribalist, Kenyans have a very strong feeling towards people who are being, even when we know that we come from tribes, Kenyans don't want to associate themselves with that kind of attack. But let me tell you this, because I think we have also to move forward. We in Azimio, those of us who still believe in Azimio, and I'm one of them who believes in Azimio, we need to call ourselves together. One is that we've never even had an opportunity to mourn Baba ourselves. But even if we are not going back there, we will need to be guided by the spirit of Baba in Azimio. He never wanted those things. When he was moving to the broad-based government, there is what he told us. Mimi ukiniuliza, itafika pahali tuseme hata sisi Azimio, wacha tuseme who is our presidential candidate.
As Azimio.
As a platform of Azimio, because actually it is the only legally recognized formation as it is now.
Yes.
We can also say we will start meeting and thinking through and see whether we can come up with because I hear the others are already saying we are announcing our presidential candidate in the month of May. Others are saying, so where are the others? We in Azimio also have a role to play. And you cannot ignore and disregard that voice.
But which Azimio are you talking about especially?
Let me say this. I'm talking of Azimio where we in Jubilee belong to. And I hope...
With an SG that you do not trust.
Well, but when you have an SG you don't trust, you can always do something
Does
else.
the SG of Azimio know he's the SG of Azimio?
We may want to, maybe I will remind him. I don't think so.
But SG, let me ask
I
this.
hope
Yes.
I'll be able to answer your question better next week by Friday.
As the SG of Jubilee, you cite very well that you're in Azimio, but also on the other side, you're in the so-called united opposition as Jubilee, or you make appearances there. Perhaps not officially, but you do make appearances. Or we associate you as well as Jubilee
I like
that.
the final.
Yes, that sounds better. Yeah. So the question comes up. One, when was Azimio formation meant to expire? Because we are heading in 2027. And another one is why, if Jubilee really does not appreciate being branded tribal because of the association with the united opposition, can Jubilee just chart their own path? You have a presidential candidate.
We belong to the opposition. And opposition in this country is in many
Yes,
formats.
factions,
We have
yes.
now the United Opposition, we have Azimio, we have people who are charting their own course. The Kenyans themselves are in opposition,
Yes.
the Gen Z.
Yeah.
You remember when we looked like we were the reluctant partners in United, we were told loan ledgers
Yes.
and we were given all those things. And we sat as neck and said, so that it's clear to Kenyans and to everybody else, Fred Okengo Matiang'i, you are now our voice in the United Opposition. You are our presidential candidate. Sit with them with one mind to unite the opposition. And that's the position. But that, since it is not a legal
Yes.
body, our position is that Azimio, we are still members of Azimio because you cannot belong legally to two coalitions at the same time. So we belong to Azimio. It will be now, of course, the presidential candidate in the name of Fred Matiang'i, who has to struggle and make sure that he is also not blooded as a tribalist by association. And he has that responsibility, which we expect him as a party also, to ensure that we don't get swallowed by a tribalist card. Because we fought very hard when he was being told you cannot run on Jubilee, kwenda tengeneza chama chako huko Kisii. And he understood what he was being made to do. He avoided it, and we must give him credit for it. And it is also at times good to allow things to play out for Kenyans to understand why was there reluctancy, why was it that we are looking at this as Jubilee. You notice that since we had our neck and declared Matiang'i our presidential candidate, meetings with United have always been there. Quietly, they are there, but we are still shutting our own course. And I want to say, and I don't want to go specific issues. I listened to some of the leaders yesterday who were at a barrio huko pande ingine, na sio vizuri ati watu wanagojea tu watu wakufe ndio uende ukaongea. You know, you look like you are playing for people to die so that you have an opportunity. Politicians must get to a point where you will create your own platforms. And I heard somebody saying, hapa dunia hii itakuwa chama moja. That's a very progressive statement.
Very.
Even if you want to achieve it, it is not a statement you make because it's really against the provisions of our constitution. And if you say it when I'm there, even if I'm in Ukabani and Kalonzo say it there, I will contradict him on the spot because I start for something.
Yeah.
But you cannot keep swallowing me in this until all of you are given a tag that you don't believe in. I mean, we fought for this constitution, and it is because of these multi-parties that we are able to even challenge the current regime.
You are referring to Gachagwa's speech in
I don't know whether he is the one, but I remember I had it on
It's
the
okay
YouTube.
to mention, because Kenyans had him.
If
and it's
he's
on
the one
record.
who said it, then
Yes.
again, I am sure he's also the one who talked about schools and many other things.
Yes.
And people sometimes think that I have a problem with some of these individuals. I don't have, but I don't agree with some of those statements. And let me now say here, because I am going to run 2027.
Okay.
You are not going to sacrifice my political career on statements you continue making. We are not
Yes.
going to be on the same platform with you.
Yeah.
What position
Kwa
are you
sababu
under?
si nitatafuta kuwa kiongozi.
Yes.
Si lazima niongee.
Lazima.
Yeah.
So lazima nitakwambia dugu,
Yes.
hii safari tembea peke yako. Wacha tukutane kwa
Kwa
uwanja.
Yes.
I am not retiring. I was not fighting for Jubilee for 3 years because I did not have something in my mind on where we should go as a country. And again, you cannot again keep belittling Jubilee and thinking that we are also mute to feelings. Hapana. Sasa ni kama vile tu party leader alisema uniweke kidole utakumbuka yangu ni kubwa kuliko yako.
Yeah.
Nitakusukuma yangu utakumbuka hata mapu yako si kubwa. But that's an issue that we will deal with as we go into the field. The issue is this for ODM, because it is the issue that is on the table.
Yes.
Like I saw it in Jubilee, ODM is on sale.
Sorry,
Jubilee was on sale.
to the highest bidder, or was it?
There is always one bidder.
Okay.
It's not the highest bidder, and the price is determined by the bidder. Jubilee was on sale. And what they were saying is, Uhuru should retire, Uhuru should retire. That time, it is actually Jubilee that they were auctioning. ODM is on sale. And what they are now trying to say is, Uhuru, funding, Nini, Maneno. Things are really of no... And they must fight for the soul of ODM. They must fight for the spirit of Raila. And that is what Mama Ida did yesterday. And there are people who must do this more clear. I have had a very, very short discussion with one lady now whom I really respect. And if Gen Zs were looking for people who can show them where to go, Winnie. Winnie seems to have understood more of where his dad was going than many people have had in forums where we have been invited for people to eulogize Baba. Nimewasikiza naona hawa watu, they have a very narrow description of who we got to understand Baba to be. But I listened to Winnie once or twice, and I think Winnie, akina Sifuna, Baba Wino, they seem to have something different. And I'm not saying much because hiyo ni kazi yao. But for the sake of stability of this country, ODM needs to remain as a unit. They may have gotten into wale ambao walieta broad based, wanaweza baki huko na wasitolewe, wakae, muda imebaki kidogo, wacha chama iendelee kujitayarisha for 2027.
Is there an apparent fight, one would say, between the old dogs in ODM and the new tags who are there, and many have christened them to be the ones who embody the spirit of Raila Odinga, and that those who many would say are the founders of the party who went through the trenches with Raila Odinga do not want to let the young tags take over from them because for some weird reason they see staying in broad-based government where Raila Odinga left them is the right place to be, and supporting William Ruto is what they want to do.
Why am I seeing it slightly different? That the old guards who went into the trenches with Raila are actually with the young tags. But some young tags who had literally taken captive of Baba because of his trusting nature are the ones who are trying to say the things they thought Baba should have said, but never said because he never believed in those things. I say that because there's something I also know. That team needs to be let go by ODM. And I cannot sit here like an advisor to ODM. But they need to let go that team. That team belongs to UDA. It doesn't belong to ODM. Let ODM function as ODM.
As ODM.
And I want to tell you this opposition, even this united opposition, some of the things we are doing in the united opposition and saying are actually in aid of another term for Ruto. We don't pay attention to some of the statements we are saying, we are uttering there. We are giving Ruto another term. And that's why I'm saying myself, mimi niko tu duniani kwa sababu mimi pia ni mwanasiasa, na nitaanza kutafuta wale watu walikuwa kwa Azimio with the spirit of kina Raila. Tuanze kusema kama nyinyi mnaanza kusema na hii maneno mnasema na haionekani it's against the constitution, it is looking like it is what you want to define yourself. There are some of the issues that you cannot start arguing on them because Kenyans are captured by some of the statements because they look like they are good statements, but the depth of huko nyuma ni sumu.
So is there a need to have a united opposition? Because
there is need to have united.
We've been going about saying united opposition, united opposition, united opposition. It sounds great.
United opposition as a place is a very
nice.
good thing.
Yes, but in terms of practice, even from your words, Jeremiah, it would appear as though that's not necessarily the case.
United opposition, not the united opposition which is shrinking, because you see, this group was bigger, but it has now shrunk.
Jubilee is not there anymore.
No, I haven't said that.
For all intent, optics, as you know,
is not committed.
As you know,
let me answer your first question before you come back.
Optics, as you answer that, optics in politics is very, very important. And that the words that you speak, because you've said the united opposition, and then you said they.
Let me now.
And then you said we.
Let me even say what.
So okay, here we go. Go ahead.
There is nothing as important as having a unity within the opposition, because when we are together, then it is that unit against this unit, the regime, you have higher chances of unseating the current. When we are not united here, it makes it easier for this team to play us.
So is the opposition united?
The opposition is united in the minds of Kenyans. We are also united in the thinking of how that we should remove Ruto. It is the how that people are speaking.
Now, SG, there is a third force.
Yes.
The proper opposition is the people.
The people themselves.
Who are saying this regime, by whatever means necessary, this term must go. We terminate on 10th of August 2027. And on the same breath, the people do not subscribe to the tribalist nature of the united opposition. So, am I right to think that the people have to coalesce and come up with a presidential candidate in whatever form, formula, or manner, without necessarily being dragged into a united opposition that clearly does not even speak to the needs of the people yet? Am I right to think that...
You are so spot on. And I want to say this.
Yes.
If the candidate is picked in a boardroom, Ruto will win. If this candidate is picked in a boardroom, we are giving Ruto an expressway. This candidate must be people's candidate. Because the people are in opposition more than the people seeking for this seat.
Yes.
So you are the one, you must be their candidate. And they must be the one to decide who it is. And that is why it is important for us to start thinking of how do we listen to these Kenyans as to who do they want as a candidate. And it becomes very scary to hear you saying that you are going to announce a candidate in April. Wewe ukiwa nani? And I am also saying, it appears like now, the two candidates who are now in the opposition, strong candidates is Kalonzo and Matiang'i. Wewe ni broker aina gani unatuambia mambo ya candidate? Siruhusu wale ambao wanatafuta hii kiti kwa hali na mali waanze kuongea kati yao, tuone kama Wakenya wataona. But when we start brokering it, we are going to ruin it.
And you see,
so this is a serious thing, and that's why I'm saying we in Azimio, because we are still in Azimio, the remnants in Azimio. Okay. In fact, now you could maybe be talking of the orphans of Azimio.
Yeah.
We need to start thinking hard. Perhaps we are the only voice left that can bring sanity here. And I am going to try, among others, outside even mambo ya kusema uko wapi, tuone kama we can bring some sanity to this.
And it's following up on what Joe has just raised, right? It is a question of, with all these debacle and conversations going on, whether you talk about the government wanting to form the next government in 2027, whether it is united opposition that wants to form government, or even Azimio itself, as you speak, wanting to form the government, we are not seeing anyone who is speaking the sauti ya mwananchi. We are not hearing anyone addressing matters to do with those who are killed during the demonstrations. Education is in the mess. Healthcare is not functioning. Corruption is high. And at that point, the third force will stand and say, all of you guys are speaking language that we do not understand. At what point does the Azimio, the orphans of Azimio, or the united opposition pause and restructure to start speaking with Mwananchi, not telling Mwananchi what they will do for them?
You see, you have reminded me that even as we sit here, one of the gentlemen we should be celebrating passed away yesterday. This young man who brought the documentary.
The documentary, right?
Yes, Nicholas.
You know, he was able to document that for us and for generations to come as to what happened. And perhaps little did we know that he was even still struggling with a court case that was put on his head, and he died when he was still supposed to make some appearances on court, taken by this regime. And those are the individuals who had actually captured the imagination of Kenyans in the opposition. Because them, and I have said this and people have misunderstood me, I want to say it again, they can continue misunderstanding me. Then, and even now in their mind, it was Ruto must go. And it wasn't 2027. Ilikuwa saa hii, kwa sababu akikakaa anaharibu elimu. Akikakaa anauza Safaricom. Akikakaa anauza Kenya Pipeline. Akikakaa tunaona Minnesota imekuja. That must go was cued by the sloganeering of one term, which still speaks to the issue of the opposition. But when you said one term, what happened to Ruto, which would have happened to me, was to have an easier time. I now know when they want to send me home. It is next year. It is no longer tomorrow. Sasa nitalala na kesho nitawapagia vile tutapambana na wao. Now, and they then got a comeback. You say one term, two term. There was no comeback of Ruto must go. So,
He said go where?
Sugoi.
No, he asked. Go where?
Sugoi. I mean, alikuwa ametoka wapi? Aliuliza how, and he was answered by the Gen Z as provided for in the Constitution.
Yes.
So, there was no comeback of must go. But there is a comeback of the one term because it's two term. You can't give the people you are fighting an opportunity for a comeback. Now we've given them another comeback by agreeing to be labeled as tribalists. So this is why I'm saying another group, and I am going to belong to that group, that must start thinking tofauti. Otherwise, you see, the Kenyans have determined. Let me tell you my experience. I know I don't have time. Let me tell you my experience in Jubilee 2022. Wakenya walikuwa wameamua I think 2021. Hiyo Uhuru na Jubilee yake nyumbani.
Yes.
Reasons kado.
Okay.
Lakini nyumbani. So ulikuwa unaenda unawaongelesha, unafanya nini, unabeba unga, unawapatia, wanakula na wanakupigia makofi ukienda. Lakini ilikuwa nyumbani. And it came to pass.
Yes.
Kenyans have decided Ruto
Must go.
Who is replacing them? It is another game. But they have decided Ruto must go. And I can tell you, unaona imambo ya bere. It is not that he won. But they were also telling us, hata nyinyi watu ya opposition hii, nini mnatuambia? Unakuja hapa, unatuambia maneno, unacheza dance, unatuletea watu, you are not showing. So they will play with games and these by elections. But they have decided Ruto
Must go.
We in the opposition must style up and be available for these Kenyans. As it is now, what we are doing in this maneno, we are not offering ourselves. And that is why when Sifuna speaks, hata akiwa mnasema ako kwa broad based, and others speak, they seem to resonate with the people because that is the language and that's where people are. Now a statement to Sifuna. Wewe Sifuna, kama unasikiza, if you also make a mistake and you become part of the groups that have been labeled tribalist and the rest, you will also carry that label. That team of Akina Babu, Owino and the rest, you guys have a responsibility. Don't let the Kenyans down. Matiang'i, we have told him many times, and he is doing it. Wengine wanasema he's a lone ranger. Do it the way you think it should be done. Kenyans are also looking at you. Sasa mkiniita tena nitakuja niongee kama Secretary General wa Jubilee.
Ongea sahi for the next 3 minutes. Kama Secretary General SG.
Give an update.
SG at Jubilee.
I can tell you that we need to address ourselves to this. And I must commend the Standard Group for what you have continued to do. You've been left as the only voice. In the US, I think it is the Fox. We have a serious issue that is going to get us to our knees in this country. This Minnesota. Wakenya wanasema tumesota. Hii itafanya tusote. Because what we are not being told is this group of Kenyans this group of individuals who are being accused in Minnesota. What percentage of them carry Kenyans' IDs? I have a suspicion that it could be the entire group. Remember back in the 1990, 91, 92, I think it's 1991, a huge chunk of Kenyans, Apart from the Somali, we also had from the Kisi and also from the Kikuyu community migrated to very many parts of this country, of this world. This group migrated to Canada and later moved to America.
Okay.
So what does this mean? You know, I asked the other time I went to Upper Isri. Na mimi nikashangaa nikasema na kweli dunia hii we are doing very well. I saw the many buildings. Go to Kirireshwa, Kirimani, the very many buildings that are coming up. Then you ask, na hii watu wanatoa pesa wapi jamani? Na vile tumesota pale. So if those developments have anything to do with the money that was stolen in the US, it will be followed. And I can even say this here. I think the FBI, that's what we call them,
Yes.
are at the tail end
Of finding out this
of that investigation. It's going to hit us very hard. Could it explain us the reason why our dollar has remained at 129 shillings? Imesimama pale kama pale ulijega choo haisongi. Could it be the reasons, and how is this going to affect our economy? Are we going to see some of our leaders frog marched to the US? Because again, we have clips of Kenyans saying, we, this community, funded you, including the shirt you are wearing. Sisi ndio tulikuwa tunaleta pesa.
You owe us.
From where?
When I follow in the US and I look at how they are following this governor of Minnesota, is they even had celebrations within hotels that are owned by people who are in this flood. And they is being followed on that account. So if you have individuals who are confessing kabisa tulikuletea pesa, na hawa wenyewe nao wanaonekana kule waliiba pesa, na wewe hapa tumekaa kama sisi ni watu ambao wanasoma sana kwa kanisa, how is this going to hit us?
Good question.
Another thing that we will be talking about in the coming days, and I will be happy to give a little bit more of the details of what I know.
Okay.
Wow.
On that note,
It is 9 a.m.
indeed it is. Jeremiah Kioni, SG, Secretary General of the Jubilee Party, looking at a number of things, and perhaps some of those things stick out like a sore thumb, that, you know, we're dealing with a lot of the end result of poor decisions. So going toward the next time a major decision can be taken, clarity of thoughts needs to be employed, whether it is those who will be choosing or those who will be chosen.
And again,
we can't run away from those
to the
really.
Standard Group for what you are doing, even on spice. You have remained fearless. Yeah. Hata kama mtanyimwa kazi ya serikali, wacha tuseme ukweli. You know, it is also provided for if you go through democratic institutions and regimes. It is a responsibility of the government of the day to ensure that there is also business within the media sector. Because medias world over don't survive well if there is no support from the government.
Indeed.
So our government can decide to kill our media industry by denying them an opportunity into the business sector. Competitively, not by tokenism. That is something that is likely that some of the media industries are going through. But those of us who have ears and eyes, tunaona. Na tukifika huko pia tutawakumbuka.
Asante sana, SG. It's 9:01. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to